Alright, Brian and I are going to be trading off, so I'm going to do 2 stories, and then he's going to do a couple stories, and then I'm going to come back. So, you can dip out if you don't like either of us. They can't. You'll know if you leave. Alright, so this first piece that I'm going to be doing tonight is called Confessions of a Lunch Thief. I'm just like any other kind of criminal. I started small, in kindergarten. My life of crime can be traced back to a natural foods-loving mother. It was lunch after lunch of unrefined peanut butter on thick slabs of crumbly, home-baked, organic 7-grain bread, not sweetened by even a single drop of honey, that drove me to steal. After story time, when Mrs. Meadows put everyone down for a nap and ducked out to the teacher's lounge for a cup of coffee, I would crawl from my mat and start my crime spree. I snuck into the room where every student was assigned a cubby, a sugar-crazed, pint-sized terror in a hand-smocked peasant dress. I opened every lunchbox stamped with the face of a cartoon character I could identify but did not know. TV, like refined sugar, was forbidden in our house. Julia Miller's mother always put 2 Twinkies in her Smurf's lunchbox. Julia had a lazy eye and had to wear a patch like a pirate. Her mother thought that if she had a Twinkie to share, she might make more friends. I helped myself to Julia's second Twinkie every day during nap time, and Julia, who might not have ever known that there were supposed to be 2 Twinkies nestled side by side next to her thermos, never reported to Mrs. Meadows that someone had taken it. I grew bolder, my blood singing with the rush of illicit sugar. I stole ding-dongs and ho-hos, tasty cake jelly crimpets, Star Crunch, Nutty Buddies, and cheese balls. I wolfed down Doritos and washed them down with foil packets of Capri Sun, until my classmates started complaining that things were missing from their lunch. And like any smart criminal, I went underground and lived on the straight and narrow for a while, so as not to get caught. I need not tell you how much worse those crumbly, sprouted wheat sandwiches were after knowing the glory of goober and grape on Wonder Bread, soft and sweet as a cloud might taste in heaven, because to my 6-year-old taste buds, that is surely what they must eat there. I learned to be strategic. Nothing big, not every day, not even every week. Just something small, and only sometimes. I became Julia Miller's best friend, guaranteeing me a Twinkie every day for the rest of kindergarten and 1st grade too. In 2nd grade, my mother finally agreed to a sleepover at the Millers. After giving Mrs. Miller a detailed list of things I couldn't have, sugar, dairy, television, I thought I was busted, and how unfair it was, because I actually liked Julia, and not just for the Twinkies. Looking like a pirate made Julia as weird a kid as I was, with my foot-long list of forbidden things. Luckily for me, it had been Mrs. Miller's idea to use Twinkies as the bait for a best friend just like me. She and Mr. Miller set up a tent in the living room and fed us pizza and Oreos for supper. We had Lucky Charms mixed with Cookie Crisp for breakfast and watched cartoons until lunchtime.
Okay.
Throughout middle school and high school, I kept my thefts small, just an occasional cookie, a midnight pantry raid during a sleepover, maybe a Pepsi that could have rolled out of someone's backpack but didn't. Nothing too daring. But then, in college, when I was buying my own groceries and living with roommates, it started all over again, but weirdly, in reverse. I never bought any of the things that were the staples of my childhood: tofu, nutritional yeast flakes, wheat germ, brown rice syrup, or the organic, unsweetened peanut butter with a weird layer of oil on the top of the jar. My groceries were full of preservatives, refined sugars, and red number 5. Pop-Tarts, Cap'n Crunch, Oscar Mayer bologna, Kraft American cheese slices. But my roommates were slobs. They never cleaned the bathroom, never remembered it was their turn to take out the trash, or haul the recycling bin that they made such a big deal of to the curb on Tuesdays. Their dishes grew crusty and moldy in the sink until I gave in and washed them. They never once suspected me when their groceries went missing, because all they ever saw me eat was Lunchables and Cocoa Puffs. Nowadays, I do data entry in an office where people drink the last cup of coffee before 10 a.m. and don't even bother to put a new one on to brew, where supervisors send passive-aggressive emails about spreadsheets that need updating before checking to see if they've already been updated. When I saw Shauna put the coffee pot back on the burner with less than a quarter of an inch left in it, I was going to give her the benefit of the doubt because 8:45 on Monday morning isn't easy for anybody. But after 3 instant messages demanding updates that I'd already finished and she hadn't even checked for, I'd had it. I sent her the updates, politely, of course, and went to the break room. While the new pot was percolating, I opened the fridge and pulled the bag from the bottom crisper where I saw Shauna put it right before she took the last cup of coffee without brewing a new pot. At noon, I go down to the picnic table that no one besides me ever uses. There are a lot of rules in an office, just as many as in a home or in a kindergarten class, and whoever has to follow them never gets a say in what they are. Shauna prefers salmon to tuna salad. She uses a lot of chopped celery and a little bit of caper, which was weird the first time I took her lunch. She always packs baby carrots and hummus with her sandwich. I'll have to brush my teeth, lest my garlicky breath give me away for what I am, a hungry peasant, an unrepentant lunch thief. I regret none of it. Her lunch was delicious. This next piece is called Traveling Misadventures Holiday Edition, and it is currently available to read online at Dirty Chai Magazine. And this is about my second worst traveling experience. The first one was coming back from AWP last week. So this is the second worst traveling story you'll ever hear. The night before trip, make sure that your boss falls and slips outside of the office so that you can spend the time that you planned for sleeping and packing the car in the ER with her because she can't get hold of anyone else to come and wait with her. At 2 a.m., start driving to Jacksonville on 0 hours of sleep from packing and panicking after hours of sitting in the ER. Curse I-10 for being so god-awful boring to drive when it's dark and you're exhausted. Hurt its feelings by telling it so. Get lost finding your reserved long-term parking facility. Yell profane things at your GPS for repeatedly directing and redirecting you to an empty lot which is clearly not the place that you've reserved to park long-term, despite punching in the address correctly. Finally find long-term parking lot after making several probably illegal U-turns. Realize that the empty lot is technically part of the same address. Don't apologize to the GPS because you're running late and it's not the first time it's failed you, so it's okay to be passive-aggressive. Barely make your flight out. Get wedged between too much perfume-wearing lady and a chatty Jewish grandmother who has grandsons in a variety of age ranges to whom she'd like to marry you off because somehow she's not noticed that you're covered in tattoos and have pink hair. Visibly disappoint her by telling her that you're already married and point out your husband sitting 3 seats behind you. Watch him as he smirks. Stealthily flip him the bird. Make mental note to murder him later. Decide if you're going to be a widow soon, you might as well hear out your prospective mother-in-law. Ponder whether she might have had too many pre-flight cocktails. Question whether you may not need a few in-flight cocktails. Wonder how far it is to Denver. Arrive in Denver. Get bumped from connecting flight 4 times. By some fluke, make the 5th flight. In retrospect, wish you'd just hung around and waited for the 6th. Guy next to you farts the whole 3-hour trip, and you're pretty sure that his entire diet consists of broccoli and boiled eggs. Harajuku girl on the other side of you wearing a Nyan Cat backpack and using her tablet to Facebook stalk Jared Leto falls asleep on your shoulder and drools on you. When she wakes up, neither of you acknowledge that she's been snuggled up on you for the past 2.5 hours. Engage in awkward conversation with too much sustained eye contact about how you keep your hair so pink. Tell her you're like a flamingo and you eat a lot of shrimp. Have to explain the joke. 10 minutes later she gets it and starts giggling, but by then you're just wishing the pilot would let you off the plane already. Shoot a "save me" look to your husband. Watch him stifle laughter. Flip him the bird again. Watch helplessly as he blows you an air kiss. Wonder whether or not you'll wait until after the holiday is over to murder him, or if it can be considered an early Christmas present to yourself. Farting guy rips one in your face while you're getting up to get off the plane. Sustain impulse to strangle him. Once off the plane, discover that your luggage beat you to Los Angeles. Now you get to track it down. It's a game. Husband manages to locate luggage, gains marital clemency and pardon for his efforts. Get to the car rental place. Discover the actual price is twice the quoted price because it's a holiday and we're charging you anyway, so you might as well take the car. Have to drive on the 405. Discover the beauty of boring old I-10. Promise I-10 you'll stop complaining about how boring it is because this is ridiculous. How do people live here? Get to hotel. Discover you made your reservation for the other extended stay LAX. Pay extra fee. For what? You're not sure. All that matters is you have a room and you don't have to get back on the 405 until tomorrow. Open email. Read emails from the Borg collective you call the mothers, your mother and mother-in-law, asking where you are and why you're so late. Wonder why the computer seems to work, but their phones don't. Politely respond with an abbreviated narrative of traveling misadventures. Immediately receive auto-response letting you know that they won't be checking email during the holidays because out-of-town family is visiting. Beg husband to call the mothers and deal with this. Listen as the mom collective praises him for being such a good husband, knowing that you're being criticized by the mothers against whom all resistance is futile. Make mental note to rehearse answers to, why aren't you kids pregnant yet, that don't involve the F-bomb. Smush pillow over face and hope for accidental asphyxiation, which does not come because your God is vengeful and has a perverse sense of humor. Breathe a sigh of relief when your husband tells you that your legendary klutziness in the kitchen has gotten you off the hook and with the mothers, all you're expected to bring are crescent rolls in a can. Open suitcase. Discover a love note from the TSA telling you that your bag was flagged and searched for contraband, which was clearly not found, though it appears that your lacy black panties were confiscated. Die a little bit inside considering the implications of this. Spoon the husband, who you're not currently thinking about murdering anymore, in a bed that smells like Lysol and may or may not be infested with bed bugs. Finally drift off to sleep. Remember before you're completely passed out to give thanks because you're not doing this alone and even you can't mess up crescent rolls in a can. And now I'm going to hand it over to Brian for a couple stories and then I'll be back.
Hey, hello. How's everyone doing? This story's called Jerry's TV. Jerry's TV was stolen. I think his estranged wife took it. If you ask me, Jerry got off easy. My ex-wife took the kids. But this isn't about me, it's about Jerry. And now that his TV is... Oh, sorry. And now that Jerry's TV is gone and he can't watch Lost, well, he's all tore up inside. All day I hear Jerry pacing. Through the ceiling of my apartment I hear it. I hear his slippers shuffling back and forth, back and forth. Those damn slippers. Sometimes at night I can hear him sobbing a little. He snores too, but he was doing that even when he had a TV. I mean, it's not like he has the money to replace the damn thing. His wife must have taken that as well. In fact, I'm surprised the poor bastard still has a roof over his head. Hell, with all that floorboard walking he does, I'm surprised I still have one. Roofs aren't cheap. Cobb, our landlord, doesn't care. Poor Jerry could fall right through the floor into my apartment, breaking both legs, and Cobb still wouldn't do shit. That's how Cobb is. Poor Jerry... Oh, sorry. It sounds insane, but I considered having Jerry over at my place. Then I remembered no cable. Also, my TV is busted. All it does is sit there reflecting the image of its sorry son of a bitch owner who could never fix a damn thing. Though if I was to finally get off my ass and fix it, I'd still be wary of having Jerry over. For starters, he's messy. Watching the man eat Ritz crackers will attest to that. Sorry, the microphone's kind of awkward. So. Okay. Secondly, and for obvious reasons, I already read that part. Oh wait, no. Secondly, and for obvious reasons, I wouldn't want that estranged wife of his, old sticky fingers, to know where I live. As for Lost, well, I'd already seen it when it was called Gilligan's Island. Regardless, the series finale is only about a week away, and still no TV for Jerry. Just the threat of my ceiling caving in. Just a grown man sobbing. It's a real shame. But you can't say I didn't try. I did. The other day I went door to door asking all the neighbors to pitch in to help buy Jerry a new TV. But all I got was a couple bucks and a lifetime of poor excuses. So to spare Jerry the embarrassment of knowing he has cheap-ass neighbors, I put the money towards buying myself a pack of Cools. As for the lifetime of poor excuses, well, there isn't much you can do about that. This next story is called Eulogy for Johnny Thunders, and it's about a dead cat. Johnny Thunders is dead. Hit and run. Not even a year old, and for my money, the coolest kitty ever to walk this whole crap-dishing planet. Hadn't seen my poor neglected Johnny in months, and here I am burying him. With my bare hands and a shovel, I am burying him. In the backyard of the house Phoebe and I had once lived in together, he is being buried. I look over and see Flora, Phoebe's bitch mother, the same woman who's convinced everyone, including Phoebe, what a childish mess I am. Which in a sense is true. But Christ, what a lousy thing to tell somebody. To take so much pleasure in telling people. Phoebe and I had found Johnny, as big as my fist then, living under a couple's trailer. The couple, friends of Phoebe's, had agreed, after much begging, that we keep the cat. For Christ's sake, they said, take it, take it. They had many cats, those people. Yet who knew that one day our feline friend, our once prize, would get run over? I'm sorry, Johnny, but no one bothered calling the number on your silver mouse-shaped name tag. No one bothered taking your smashed body out of the road. No one bothered. This to me is terrible cat killing etiquette. There are rules. A few years ago, my brother Celie and I, on our way to some mush-for-brains party, struck Mimi, the neighbor's cat, while pulling out of our parents' driveway. Celie said, "Shit, let's step on it." But I said, "No way." So while reciting what we thought would be a smooth apology, but was anything but, we wrapped up Mimi using an old issue of Lake Show we'd found crumpled in the backseat of the car. Lousy etiquette. And delivered her to the neighbors, a saintly old couple who took the news as well as one could. Which is more than I could say for Phoebe and me. In fact, if I knew where the killers lived, I would go over there. I would knock on their door. When they answered, I would present Johnny to them. I would hold him right up to their hit-and-run face and say, and of course, I'd hold them right up to their hit-and-run face, and they would of course gasp, and I would maybe toss in a blood-curdling yelp or two for dramatic purposes, for good measure. It's hot as balls out. Phoebe is on her knees. She is sobbing, pulling up fistfuls of grass and dirt. Johnny Thunders, wrapped in a Star Wars blanket, dead, is about to be lowered to a small hole I've dug in the ground. Flora, standing with her arms crossed, looks on. The smirk on her face, like she has better things to do, like she deserves a bronze fucking star for even being here, makes me want to clock her in the head with a shovel. I bet she finds our little ceremony to be trivial bullshit. Screw her. I wish it were her grave, not Johnny's. Following the split, I'd agreed Phoebe could keep Johnny. I didn't really want that, but because Phoebe had insisted, and because I was doomed to serve couches for a while, it somehow made sense. Despite all those crazy hours Phoebe would work at the clinic, despite my righteous indignation. Me, I had plenty of time to care for Johnny, but it was too late. The decision was made, so I spent several straight days either drunk or hungover. When I wasn't at work, I was at the bar spilling drinks, getting into fights, making a real ass of myself. Girls would sometimes let me make out with them, but they would never let me fondle them, or have me take them home. Which wasn't a surprise, I no longer had one. So I cut off all communication with Phoebe, first deleting her from my Facey Space page, and then erasing her number from my cell phone. Still, I missed Johnny. I missed Johnny more than I did Phoebe. It was strange, heartbreaking, and I knew that instead of being the pushover I was, I should have been more like the guy going through that custody battle in that one Dustin Hoffman movie. Only instead of a child, I'd be fighting over a cat. A cat named after a dead junkie. A cat I loved. I think of Johnny, snow leopard white with brown and gray spots circling his belly, sitting outside the bathroom door purring as Phoebe and I showered, or sleeping at the corner of the bed, somehow peaceful during the sound and fury of Phoebe and I hate fucking. Then there's Johnny pissing on Floral's ugly handmade quilt, a potential heirloom. Phoebe knocking him around with her sandals, screaming. Me knocking Phoebe around, begging her to stop. After a while, Johnny didn't give Phoebe the time of day. He only trusted me. There was resentment, of course, and our relationship never recovered. It only got worse. And to think things were finally looking up. I'd curbed my drinking, found my own apartment, went back to school, and even began work on an album of folk songs. It was good. Then it all went to hell. Then I pulled in behind Flora's black Mercedes. I pulled in behind a goddamn hearse. I pat the ground with the shovel. Johnny Thunders is down there. Phoebe comes up behind and, still sobbing, wraps her arms around me. I don't want her touching me, but I let her. Then she runs over to hug her mother. Flora doesn't care. We've been outside for what seems like hours, and it's still hot, hot, hot. Part of me wants to believe that Johnny committed suicide. I like to think that having to deal with Phoebe and her mother for so long was just too much for him. I know it sounds silly, but that's the only comfort I have. So I kneel. If my body were not balancing itself against the shovel, surely I would tip over entirely and possibly never get back up. Johnny, for my money, was the coolest fucking cat on the entire six-sad planet. Well, says Flora, shall we call it a day? Are we through yet? I don't know, I tell her, tears stinging the cheeks of my sweaty, sunburnt face. I don't think the hole is big enough. Then I catch Flora roll her eyes, and I think, yes, Flora, I've decided. The hole I dug is just too damn small.